Welcome to Mortification of Spin, a casual conversation about things that count, with Carl Trueman, Todd Pruitt, and Amy Bird. Mortification of Spin is a weekly podcast from the Alliance of Confessing Evangelicals. This week, the crew talks to Michael Horton of the White Horse Inn about being mentored by James Boice, the holiness of God, and his recent book on John Calvin. Make sure you keep listening after the podcast for an opportunity to win a book by Michael Horton.
Well, welcome. Today we're broadcasting from a psychiatrist's office somewhere in California. And the reason is that we're privileged to have on the program Michael Horton of White Horse Inn and Westminster Seminary in California fame. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Thank you, Carl. You already have me white-knuckled with nervousness.
Well, so you should be, because normally we do a psychological profile of people before they come on the program, but we didn't manage to get the Myers-Briggs type test to you in advance. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, just give you 2 words, and you have to choose the better of the 2. You ready?
No, but go ahead.
IPA or Zinfandel?
Zinfandel.
Okay. Fox News or MSNBC?
That's like death by firing squad or hanging.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Stones.
Instant coffee or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Justin Bieber or Jimmy Page?
Who's Justin Bieber?
Excellent answer. Excellent. Ask Amy.
This
She'll
man
be
is
able to
healthy.
tell you. James Bond or Jack Bauer?
Bond.
Cigars or pipe?
Cigars.
Amy Bird or Gloria Furman?
Who's Gloria Furman?
Excellent answer. Luther or Calvin? This could be a good one
wow.
for you. Luther or Calvin?
It's got to be Calvin, because everything Calvin said was the good stuff from Luther, and plus Calvin.
Excellent answer. OPC or PCA? And you have to answer that.
This is just wrong, what you're doing here. Well, I gotta say OPC.
Fantastic. You're in. You passed. The first question was a bit dubious there. I was thinking of rephrasing it as IPA or foul infected water. See if I can get the right answer. But anyway, well, it's great to have you on the program, Mike.
Thanks. What was the score? Is there a score? Or is this just a nihilistic exercise?
Let's just say you just about passed.
Okay.
I thought the James Bond answer was good. The Amy Bird answer was good. I'm not persuaded by the Luther or Calvin answer, but we'll come back to that.
Because you are doing the Luther book. So.
It's done. It's done. It's finished.
Yeah.
It is finished. So.
And you're, of course, referring to this great series on from Crossway on various people in the Christian life. Of course,
yep.
Dr. Horton recently released Calvin in the Christian Life. We've actually referenced it a few times on the program.
Yeah, and I think Amy has referenced it a few times on her blog. Maybe you'd like to speak to what you see as its strengths, Amy.
Oh, there's so many good strengths. I don't know if I can just narrow it down to one. I really enjoy Dr. Horton's books, and so I was looking forward to it. And then to read about Calvin on the Christian life, one thing I really took away from it that I ended up writing about was just this whole idea of orthodoxy and how now we tend to separate orthodoxy from doctrine from life, but how that's not what it meant for Calvin, that it was so united together that you can't have one without the other, and that's how it should be now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're Dr. Horton is in town for the Philadelphia
Excuse me
conference.
a second. Why am I Carl and Mike is Dr. Horton?
See, that's very easy.
In fact, I think I was referred to as a knucklehead.
Yeah, well, that's very
somebody.
easy. It's because I have more respect for Dr. Horton. And so Dr. Horton is going to be speaking at the Philadelphia Conference on Reformed Theology. And one of the things that I'm fascinated about your biography, that because we're a podcast of the Alliance of Confessing Evangelicals, I've just got to ask you to just, in a brief way, but your story of coming into the Reformed faith, of meeting James Montgomery Boice, to me is a fascinating story. And I know it's not something you can sum up super quickly, but give the listeners just a taste of how you were introduced to the Reformed faith and your relationship with Jim Boice.
Thanks. Well, it's still a very, even as I was coming to the PCRT, the feelings, not just anticipating coming to a conference, but the warm feelings of coming to the PCRT flooded my memories again with so much past that is bound up with the PCRT and with the Alliance and so forth. Such a privilege to be here. I guess the short version is I was a very strange kid, and I was not very interested in Reformed theology, but I was interested in the Bible, and always thought that I knew the Bible pretty well. And then my older brother, who was not, we weren't raised in the same home, and he was a bit of a in and out of jail kind of guy. He'd become a very transformed person, and told me I had to read Romans. And so I started reading Romans. Then he had some tapes from this thing called the Philadelphia Conference on Reformed Theology. So I was taken by it all, and long story short, went to my first PCRT at Walnut Creek Presbyterian Church, and I was 13, and I went up to Dr. Boice with my silk shirt. Now, anybody who knows James Montgomery Boice knows that he was always out of style, which meant he was in style. Yeah. Brooks Brothers basically was the only place he shopped. Yes, to the manor born. And I was like to the really tacky Reno, Nevada discotheque born. So I walk up with my silk shirt and Puka-shells and an angel flight suit, and my long hair, and I said, I want to be a reformer too. What a stupid thing to say! Walk up to James Montgomery Boice and say, I want to be a reformer too, just like you. And instead of dismissing me or leading me back to my parents, he said, "What are you doing for lunch?" I think my calendar's empty, pretty much. He said, "I have a sack lunch here. Would you share it with me?" And so he took me down into one of the Sunday school rooms there, and we talked. And then after that, I thought, well, he'll never actually respond to my letters, but I sent them anyway. He responded to every letter I ever sent, and then my other brother traveled as a football recruiter, and we'd go to, whenever he came to Philadelphia, I'd come with him and have lunch or dinner with Dr. Boice and Linda Boice sometimes. It's just amazing how he took me under his wing and went to all the other PCRTs, and he introduced me to R.C. Sproul and J.I. Packer, and then started friendships with them. So it's really
that's amazing.
Yeah, I can't thank him enough for taking time with a punk teenager.
It's a great story. I mean, my thing is, if nothing else happens for the rest of the week, images of Michael Horton with Puka-shells. I think we've done our work here, Carl.
I think we have.
I don't even know what a puka-shell is.
Oh, well, bless your heart.
The other side of the Atlantic. One of the other advantages of growing up in Britain, I suspect.
Well, okay, we've talked about the psychological aspects and the biological ones. I wanted to ask you a tough theological question. I was kind of giving a little plug for this conference on my blog, and one of the commenters was very excited that we were interviewing you for the podcast, and here's his comment. I really hope that you get the chance to speak with Horton. I think he has often been unfairly pegged as being weak on holiness and or sympathetic to antinomianism, and I'm very excited to hear him address this topic this weekend. How would you reply to that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm glad that you've raised that question, because it's something that I can't quite put my finger on why I've heard that from some people. I also hear that I'm legalistic because of the regulative principle, emphasis on the regulative principle, and other matters. That you emphasize the third use of the law too much. It all depends on who you're talking to, I guess. The White Horse Inn is a joint operation of Lutheran, Baptist, Anglican, Reformed. We bring all of our different nuances to the table. But I think that what we have seen for the last 25 years is a lot of people who absolutely do not understand fundamentally what Christ came to do. And they confuse themselves with Jesus, and they confuse what they do with what he's done. So we hammer that day in and day out, saying we're not a church, we're not the whole counsel of God, we're not, but we're going to hammer on this, and we're going to try to also say, here are the categories. It's not, justification without sanctification. But if you don't have what Christ came to do for us, everything else is going to just be a muddled mess. And so that I think that's perhaps what, especially if people are coming at this, what they think about me through the White Horse Inn, and don't take into account that I've written a lot on the Christian life, the third use of the law, wrote a book on the Ten Commandments, primarily the third use of the commands. But I don't mind saying that the emphasis has been on getting the gospel right, and I think that is a perennial challenge for us. Our default setting is not to get that right. Everything else is important. We need to talk about it. But if we don't get the gospel right, nothing else matters.
That's good.
I think on the podcast, on the White Horse Inn podcast, so often I'm shocked when you guys conduct those interviews at Christian conferences and ask these basic questions.
Even pastors' conferences sometimes.
And so many of the answers are very man-centered on being a good person and living a good life, and it's just amazing to me when I hear that.
And I don't think antinomianism, and Carl, it'd be interesting to hear you riff on this. I think we put it in the wrong categories when it's a war between antinomianism and legalism. It's confusion. It's not that people are really well thought out antinomians or really well thought out legalists or moralists. It's that I look at people I talk to who say that they don't seem to have any obligation to regular church attendance, but they're Christians. And then you find out their theology is moralistic therapeutic deism. They're not really antinomians.
They haven't thought deeply enough.
Haven't thought about it, yeah.
Do you think at the root of that problem lies a loss of a concept of the holiness of God?
Absolutely. That's where understanding justification or sanctification begins.
Yeah. Interesting point.
Yeah. And you've referenced the fact that you have written on the third use of the law. Again, I'm a bit of a book plugger, and I would recommend The Law of Perfect Freedom, which is Dr. Horton's book on the Ten Commandments. It gives a great explanation on the uses of the law, and then, in a practical sense, ends up spending most of the time, I think, in that third use, helping to apply God's moral law to the Christian today. It's very, very helpful.
Thank you.
I've been helped at various times in my life by some of the things you've written. Before we began recording, I spoke to you about the role that putting amazing back into grace played in my life at a pivotal time when I was wrestling with the doctrines of grace as a Southern Baptist, and it was very helpful. As a pastor, I have found one of your books that's been very helpful, not just for me, but a helpful resource that I've given to a lot of people is your little book, Too Good to Be True. Now, it was reissued in a different title, A Place for Weakness. It's excellent. Now, one of the things you reference is your upbringing and what your parents did and how that impacted you in some ways, wrestling through later about suffering. Wonder if you just share that for a moment.
Yeah, I grew up in a nursing home. My parents, during part of my life, they worked at Los Angeles Baptist College, which is now Master's College, and then we moved up to Northern California, worked for the Rescue Mission, and then moved to Lake Tahoe to work with disadvantaged kids at a camp there that my parents managed. And then we went from the low end of the age spectrum to the upper end, and they had a nursing home. And yeah, I saw suffering close at close range, and to see the difference between people dying in Christ and dying without Christ, either in a kind of existential fist-shaking I did it my way send-off, or just really not having any hope and wondering if anything is true. And so I got pretty attached to a lot of those folks. And I think partly because of that experience, the prosperity gospel light that is in a lot of our churches, God wants you to be happy and healthy and fit and trim, and if anything bad happens to you, well, he's not involved in it at all. I just thought, if he's not involved in it at all, then he's not worth worshiping. He's capricious. Yeah. So that's I think a lot of my being ready for Reformed theology was triggered by those experiences.
Do you think that has practical liturgical implications as well for the way the church worships, preparing people to die? I remember listening to a White Horse Hymn some years ago now. I have to say, just as an aside, I used to listen to the White Horse Hymn with the kids in the car. I probably told you this. And whenever your voice came on, my sons would say, "Is that Michael Horton?" And I would say, "Yes." And they would say, "Is he the enemy?" And I would say, "Yes." So every time you spoke, they would boo as we were driving along in the car.
Thank you, Carl.
That's an aside.
Thank you for the catechesis.
I just wanted to maintain the hostile relationships between Westminster East and Westminster West.
Excellent. You're doing your part. Thank you.
But I remember one of you guys saying that a big part of pastoral ministry was preparing people to die, and that really stuck in my imagination. Could you expound a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, Carl, better than I do, the literature of our tradition on dying well. Can you imagine a bestseller, a Christian bestseller today, The Art of Dying Well? And in the 17th century, you do have some bestsellers by that title. Fire, plague, what have you. We have enough disaster. It's not that we don't have enough disasters. It's that we don't have the right response for it. And isn't it hard to actually prepare for tragedy when it strikes? You really do need to prepare before tragedy strikes. And the problem is a lot of folks don't want to go there until it does. And then it's a little harder to even talk about God when you're in pain.
That reminds me of what Paul Wolf said when we interviewed him about cancer, and how when he got that news, God had already been preparing him through the regular ministry, preaching of the word, to hear those words, and that was the moment that his theology paid off.
Yeah.
It makes a difference, doesn't it, for pastors and parishioners, if you're thinking that what this is all about really is preparing for glory, for heaven, because then you're working back from that to everything else that takes on a new significance.
Yeah. I think the first time I was ever exposed to the concept of the ordinary means of grace was as a young Southern Baptist pastor, and I picked up your book, In the Face of God. And the reason why I picked it up is because I'd been so helped by putting Amazing back into grace. I saw this book, and I thought, well, I've got to get it, and it wrecked me in the best way. But it was the first time I'd heard any reference, really, an explanation of the ordinary means of grace. And I was angry because that was the first time I was hearing this. And then secondly, it revolutionized the way I thought about preaching and about the ministry of the sacraments. Of course, I still could not use the word sacrament, but I wondered, how is it that I've gone this long being raised in church in a tradition that values preaching, conservative Southern Baptist Church, and yet I felt like for the first time, I'm not sure that I've been raised to value preaching, not like this.
So how come it took you 20 years to become a Presbyterian? Was
These
it the money? It was the money in the Southern Baptist Convention.
These are hard ties to break, Carl. It's a hard,
Well, we know you're still a theonomist.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Talking about women in the military.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes me a theonomist, sure. Yeah.
He loves to stir things up, doesn't he?
He does. He's been a bad influence on me. So that's why I refuse to call him doctor. I just will not allow.
At least you haven't called me knucklehead.
that is true.
I called you both knuckleheads,
Yeah.
just for the
Yeah,
record.
we did both notice that. Yeah.
Incidentally, I tell you, when I think about, okay, so we've talked about White Horse Inn, Westminster Seminary, California. You have about 180 books now. Where do you find the time? Modern Reformation Magazine, which by the way is wonderful. I think Modern Reformation Magazine's indispensable. Where do you find the time to do this?
Todd's asking if you have a ghostwriter. That's a very polite way of...
That's the real question.
Well, Joel asked me not to mention his name, but he's Joel Osteen is my ghostwriter. But
Yeah, he's probably sent you a lot of birthday cards.
yeah,
I bet.
yeah.
What's your budget line for New York Times bestsellers as well?
I'm sorry for Carl.
We have good lawyers, don't worry.
I've asked not to be told any of that. I think a lot of it is just the amazing staff at White Horse Inn. Really, it takes a lot off of my plate, and I think that also I have a wonderful wife who is an anchor. She says I'm the tornado, and she's the calm in the midst of the storm, and I think that's really true. But I think it's a passion. I've never written a book because I felt like I had to. Well, it's November. It must be time to write a book. It's really what do I hear out there talking to people? What do I hear people really need to hear? And so that's why it kind of goes back and forth between emphasizing this and then emphasizing that, because I think that I hear different questions and challenges that people are facing, and at the end of the day, I think everything that I do, writing, speaking, whatever, is subordinate to the office of the ministry of the Word. Mm-hmm. And if I can do anything to serve pastors who are serving the people of God, that's of greatest concern.
Well, you've done that well. Just me as an ordinary local pastor, I've benefited and continue to benefit from your work, and I know a lot of pastors do.
I would say me as a housewife, too.
Sure.
One thing I really respect about your program and Modern Reformation is that you emphasize just the regular layperson. Yep. And it was such an encouragement to me as a writer when I first began writing my book. I was just a housewife in West Virginia, and the first thing I did to test my writing was I submitted an essay to Modern Reformation, and you guys published it, and it just made me feel like they really care about the regular person. They're not just looking for the academics out there, but they mean what they say.
Well, and the person who's hard to find is a person like you, who is a person who is day to day wrestling with domestic issues, and yet knows probably more than a lot of pastors and teachers out there.
Kind of in the war zone, a little bit of ordinary life.
Right, but you know why it's important, and it's not just a credential, to you. It's something that is
right, and just to know that the professor or the pastor's teachings are trickling down and really getting absorbed and then used by a regular, ordinary housewife.
That's good, yeah.
In her home. I just think that's so important, and it showed to me that you guys really meant what you say. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Amy. That's wow. I mean, I got to get the checks out.
I have to say, I won't read a book by anybody who prefers Zinfandel to IPA. So
Carl,
you're done as far as I'm concerned.
I would have been disappointed if you hadn't just torpedoed that whole love fest right there.
I was wondering if Michael was actually just trying to test Carl at that point, but
I did pause. At least I did pause
I hardly dare ask if
he didn't ask if it was a California. What was it?
The geography is irrelevant. It's an abomination. Trust me on this.
A French Burgundy.
Oh, now French Burgundy.
Is that, okay, but that wasn't.
But
the
that's
question.
not a Zinfandel.
Right. Okay.
Zinfandel is pink. You shouldn't drink pink drinks. It's as simple as that.
Before we close, I just wanted to say that we've also been talking about social media and its impact on the church, and you're going to speak tomorrow, so I was wondering what your tweetable line was.
Yeah, what's the tweetable? We want to be able to sum this up in a tweet.
Tweetable line.
Yeah.
God is the most terrifying question I've ever been asked.
I know, that's why I asked.
We're really glad you spent some time with us, Dr. Horton. It's been great to have you on. Again, to our listeners, we just commend to you Michael Horton's labors. His books are well worth reading. Modern Reformation is a gem. White Horse Inn has become indispensable. And thanks so much for spending time with us. And we just look forward to, God willing, you continuing to give us, that is the church, great material. We are happy to be providing copies of Dr. Horton's newest book, Calvin on the Christian Life. It's a part of a terrific series. And if you would like to win a copy of Calvin on the Christian Life, then just go to our website, mortificationofspin.org, and enter for a drawing for some copies of this terrific new book. And until then, we'll be happy to talk to you all later.
Thanks for listening to Mortification of Spin, a podcast of the Alliance of Confessing Evangelicals. The Alliance is a coalition of pastors, scholars, and churchmen who hold to the historical creeds and confessions of the Reformed faith and who proclaim biblical doctrine in order to foster a Reformed awakening in today's church. Don't forget to visit our website, mortificationofspin.org. There you can enter for a chance to win Calvin on the Christian Life by Michael Horton. Amy Bird recommends it.
Oh, there's so many good strengths. I don't know if I can just narrow it down to one. I really enjoy Dr. Horton's books, and so I was looking forward to it.
Next week on the program, the gang is joined by Rachel Miller to speak out against a dangerous growing movement in the Reformed Church.
Maybe you want to talk about some of the dangers that are in this doctrine?
Just discovering a brand new culture that's been going on that I've been completely unaware of.
It's abusive. Well, how is it abusive? Well, it's abusive emotionally, it's abusive spiritually, it's abusive, or it leads to physical abuse, and this is one aspect for one extreme of it. But it is there. It is a natural progression.
I would not be comfortable in anybody holding to patriarchal views, holding office in my congregation.
That's next week on Mortification of Spin. And don't forget to go to our website and enter that book drawing, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Luther's just more fun.
Luther's more
Just
fun.
more fun.
Yeah, well, that's true.